And only for the people who are watching, I'll tell you right now we have Gong Qimei. I don't know if I'm pronouncing correctly with us.
Yes, you're right.
Oh, great. Her work is Behave as Good as Gold. We also have
Yes.
Marjorie Conrad with Desired Path, which is the feature film number 3 of our program. Also, Gong's work is program 13. We only tell this because sometimes people would like to access to your work, so they may know where to find it. And remember, you can access to it online through our webpage, Fotogenia's webpage. And also, we don't know your name.
You can call me Skiff, and
Oh,
I'll
great.
be the interpreter for Qimei today.
Yeah, great.
And I'm really honored to be here, and I'm so sorry for I cannot join just now.
It's okay. Thank you very much, Skip. So we also have
Skip
with us, and we thank her. All right. And well, thanks of all. A very general question, but important to me, which is to talk a little bit about the process of your work. Because there are people who have seen it, others who haven't. The process of your work, the inspiration, and also if you want to the ideas, the things which were moving while thinking about your work. It's really important for us to know, because as we know, art is all about ideas and feelings. So yeah. It says, someone says, hello Marjorie, greetings from Colombia. So
hello.
So maybe Marjorie may start, and then Skip, he may figure an answer together. Great.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so making Desired Path was kind of like overworking a loop, which is what a Desired Path is. You know, it's a trail that's organically created by a non-human or human animal, and it's intuitive, it's unforced, and it reveals itself through repetition. And it might not be obvious to an outsider, but it's obvious to the user. And it's also something that can be shared, and it's not necessarily the shortest path. You know, so I don't really have the words really, and I can't pretend that I do, to explain something kind of indescribable, which is, you know, motivation and process. But I can say that I recognized when moving image moment works for me, and that's what I look for. And they can't really be contrived, they just come through for me. It's kind of like where the words in a sentence all fit together. You know, that's what I'm looking for. And it could take me years to find a sentence that I think is okay, and it could only work for me, you know. It reveals itself in the edit. So I would say that my process is taking my time. I, you know, gather all the materials and I lay them out, and then hopefully something happens that's independent of me, that's removed from me. And in that state that I arrive at with time and focus, really working the material over and over and over, hopefully I get to a moment or two that works for me in a scene. And I can't really describe what that something is, other than, you know, something that has to do with our shared humanity, our mortality, the work of separation, loneliness. And I don't think that there's any wasted work, even if it takes a lot of time. I'm drawn to these moments that sort of stand alone outside of the context of the broader artist statement or the viewing environment or the film's entire story. It's unusual for something to be able to stand on its own, but that's what I look for. And when I say that something works, it's only starting to work, because it can always be improved. You can always push it further. Sometimes it's impossible to push further. You know that there's something there, but you can't. It's too difficult to find. So yeah, in production, in pre-production, production, post-production, I think I've come across two major challenges, and really it's the getting started, problem number one, and problem number two is the rushing to completion, the urge to rush to completion. And I have to resist that, because I have to develop the sensitivity to see what I have in front of me. And yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, sorry. It really catches my attention, the idea of that the process where for you the revelation occurs is in the edition, in post-production.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very powerful to me because it's like some people think of it only like putting everything together, that everything you work through together, and almost like the last part of a film. And you are like, I mean, you work through the aesthetics and some type of characters and certain atmosphere. But yeah, now that you were saying that, it really feels as an editor's film. Like but in a sense that there's so many things that montage is trying to reveal, like, through it, and more than if narratively it is entirely understandable, or if you want to have a concrete discourse, it's more about, like, like insisting in seeing the image from with a certain rhythm and another, and I think that happens also with the characters you work with. Like, they have like so many faces and facets, and yeah.
Yeah, I think essentially I treat everything I make as found footage.
Oh,
I try to let go of the initial intention, the initial framework. I have to let go of it, even though it can be really difficult because it's impossible to sort of transcend it or evolve the idea.
yeah. And well, I don't know if talking about montage and taking time and everything, it's worth talking about what the movie is about. But for people who are out there, it is a kind of, I would say, also it has something about horror, vampires, and about a woman who is inside a house, who is captive, I may say. So if people want to have an image of it, a more, like, I don't know, narrative image of it. But yeah, we will continue talking about that murdery. So I don't know if Gong and Skip would like to have the word.
到我了吗？
It's a
It's my
turn
turn.
to Qimei. Okay.
老师你帮我翻译一下，就是讲创作过程是吧？好。就是我创作这个影片的时候，主要就是在我毕业之前，研究生毕业之前，我外婆的葬礼上，在我外婆的葬礼上，就是我的长辈们，他们开始聊起了我外婆之前的一些故事，所以由此我想用一个影片去纪念她，也是因为是在小的时候跟外婆之间的关系非常的好，所以就想接触了影像之后，想拍摄一个纪录片，所以想以一个纪录片的形式去怀念她，因为她走了之后，我不希望我忘记她，所以想用一个影像去怀念她。对，这是我创作的起因。
好的。And the first time when Qimei want to make a documentation for her grandmother is that on her grandmother's funeral, and she and I memorized about my grandmother's memories when we are young, and she is really good to me and she taught me a lot of things, and I don't want to let go of her, and I don't want to forget all the memories after she passing away. So I also studied in image production. So when on the funeral and the family is talking about her stories, and I just want to write a book, which is my film, so that I can memorize Xiang, which is my grandmother.
Thank you. Yeah, so Qimei's work is I perceive it as a memory of her grandmother, but also her life and her difficulties, which it was really moving to me because I don't know. I mean, it's not that that there's any comparison, but it's like, wow, how can you get through life when going through experiences of losing everything, like at 5, when you're 5 years old and things like that.
Yes.
And I think it's a really like personal experience. And what I like the most is that it is like, well, Qimei is going through the archives and her grandmother's memory and stories that she shared with her, but also it's like really knowing what type of relationship you had with her. That's what really I really like about the film, that it's not only this like adding up information or emotionally or you know or information of an archive information, but that you are sharing some secret, you're sharing the private words you share with her, and I like that a lot. Like,
他就是说他看到就是你记录的一个关于你外婆的一个经历吧，然后他也非常震惊，就是感觉你外婆在5岁的时候开始就感觉失去了人生的所有，重新开始，所以他能感受到其中的艰辛，然后他也感觉到你在这个过程中分享了很多，就是可以说是秘密吧，就是关于你外婆的这一切，然后他感觉非常感动。对
，Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you talk about, Qimei talked about feminism, and that was also like a motive of looking to her grandma again, like taking you know, like a step back, or like trying to turn around and watch and see again the things you think you already seen. And I have a sense that even though these Marjorie's and Qimei's work are very different, they both share that thing of stopping and turning turning the side or turning around and watching again, like through those feelings you already wanted to close or to keep away. And I don't know if also for you, Marjorie, there's an inspiration, I don't know, I'm guessing, but about feminism and also those types of going through grief, but in through a very, like, I don't know if I would say like that, but through a very like feminine experience. I don't know, because the character is always like being invaded by a lot of men, of vampires. And I don't know if you had any inspiration, or was it only like because it represents you better to have a female character?
So in terms of the starting framework for this particular film, I also had a loss that I experienced. I lost my friend, and I was reading Danielle Coudobert, who I had never read before, and I was really struck by her sentences because a lot of them are so broken up. You know, she uses hyphens or dashes to separate all of her sentences. That's the only punctuation. I'd never seen that before, and it was really striking. And because my sense of reality was sort of eroding because I was grieving, I needed some sort of initial intention, so I used the Trojan horse of the vampire genre, but really it just was an excuse to get people involved and to have it become what it needed to become. And yeah, we shot for 13 days in freezing temperature, and I was so happy with Amy's work as the protagonist, because she's so strong, and but in a very internal, quiet way. And I do think there's something about gender in the movie. I struggle with this a lot, especially now, because I have been the object of someone else's lens in a pretty popular show, and it was a very formative experience. It also was a pretty destructive experience in many ways. And I also really appreciated the film, The Disappearance of My Mother. I had problems with the film, but I really liked what Benedetta was saying about images and cinema needing images and the role of women in images. I'm pretty reminded of what my professor Jennifer Hammett was saying when she was discussing the male gaze, where she was sort of implying that it might be impossible to show a woman's face without dealing with the male gaze. And I struggle with that a lot. Like, should I show a woman's face even? You know, should I keep everything private and anonymous? And is that a better way to have some form of agency in the image? But at that time, I wasn't thinking about that in particular, but I did want to show female characters experiencing these permutations. But it is working through the same emotion over and over again. The scene is sort of being reenacted, and in its first iteration, it was 30 minutes longer, and once it went through its release, its festival run, then I went back into the edit and I cut out 30 minutes, and I took out all of these black spaces after each shot that were sort of influenced by Kurobel's punctuation, and I ended up with one scene that I still feel happy with, which is the thermal scene with a narrow aspect ratio because of these two accidents. Essentially, the cold temperature made the sensor glitch right when Otto, the vampire, sort of leans into her neck, and we have Amy's face taking up the screen, and she leans back and she looks up, she closes her eyes, and then there's this accident, this tear that runs down her cheek. And because we're shooting thermal with a black hot palette where everything warm is dark and everything cold is light, we can see the trace of the tear. We can see the heat signature of the tear. And then we cut to this dark leafless tree against this white sky. And for me, it really works because it's got this imagery that's associated with nature combined with the violence of the couple. But really, it's the interference from that recording instrument sort of mirroring that contact that Otto is making, and as he's draining her life, that really makes it feel like it all fits together. The coldness of the environment, the simplicity of the blocking. I can't really explain it further, but that's what I feel like. That image is the movie, you know, if I was just gonna cut everything away.
No, but I really like what you said about that image, because it's also, I haven't thought about it, but now that you got me back to your images while you were talking, it's like this horror aesthetic, but there's always something like glowing in that dark, like the skin glows, as you said, like the tear glows, this bluish also like filter. It gives you, I don't know, in that cold, I mean, blue is a cold color, but it gives you a sense of also intimacy, that you are not completely like thrown to a negative like experience of the image, right? So I really like that. And I thought I should say that in the very beginning, I thought your movie was more about toxic relationships rather than grieving. But now, as you said earlier, that it's about also like knowing our bodies inside the different loops life gives us. Like for me, it's a question like, why do we get in this loop, and why is it so difficult to get out and to find again a place for our body? And I think you're trying to explore. I don't know if it is the body is very important, because it's, I mean, that loop and that displacement is all about not knowing where your body is in surrounded by all of these things, right? So I don't know.
And I think you picked up on, and the thing is, I lost my friend due to a very abusive, sort of doomed romance. And the author I mentioned also took her own life. So, I was definitely dealing with those feelings as I was making the film. Of course, it'll never stop being a vampire film, because I needed that to sort of get me through it, get me to start. But hopefully it becomes something other than a vampire film for the viewer.
I think it does become something else. And related to that, something you also have in common, even though they are very like different approaches to images, is grief, and those process of grief and trying to find something for you in images. And I don't know if this is a very personal question, but also talking about the process, but in a more like personal way. Like, was it, and also thinking about art also as a sort of place to heal. If you got anything related to that, and now for Qimei, like I don't. Yeah, like if your feeling change, your feeling of grief change with the movie, through the movie. I don't know if that's a valid question, but yeah.
就是说，他不知道你的想法是怎么变的，就是因为就是在你的电影里面，就是因为也提到了就是关于气势方面的想法，然后对，就是你可以分享一下你的体验。
改变是改变什么？
What is the question I want to ask about is that what has changed in her mind?
Yeah, or in her feeling, like, because I think there also an approach and of through to film as a place with related to the subconscious, and some people make this thing called like art therapy or something like that, because it gives you like a very specific process in order to find a mirror to the images. I don't know. Yeah, if anything, like change about like grieving while making the movies. Yeah.
就是说，因为影像和艺术，它有可能是你治愈你心里面的一种方式。那么就是，在你的影像中，你觉得映射些什么？你心路历程是怎样？就是你是，就是有什么心路历程有什么变化吗？就是你是怎样，对，就是怎样这样创作的？
就是一开始的时候，就是阿香在我很小的时候，他就一直有跟我讲，他年轻时候5岁被卖到泰国不是被卖回来当童养媳的一个经历。但是在我小的时候，我其实并不在意他这个经历，他可能只是为了让我更好的去生活，让我更听爸爸妈妈的话。但是直到长大之后，我发现我20多岁，他也一直都在讲他这一段的经历，所以我觉得这一段经历对于他来说是一个非常大的一个创伤，或者是他没办法忘记的一个回忆。所以我决定拿起摄像头去记录他讲的一些故事，或者说我想去用摄影机去追随他，去把他的故事讲出来。老师，你要不先翻译这一段？
Okay. So I'll translate what she just said now, and she'll keep answering your question. And when I was a child, Xiang keeps recounting her experience about being sold to China as a child bride when she was 5 years old. And but when I grew up and when I was in my 20s, and she still keeps talking about this experience. So I think I have the need to memorize her story for her. And when in my 20s, I finally understand what Asha want to share with me is that she want me to have a live well and stay safe. Yes. 你继续。
那我接着讲。就是在拍摄过程当中，其实他去世的当天，其实我是非常伤心的，因为突然的离开我，他是我非常敬爱的一个长辈，算是对。这个可以先不翻译。然后但我的一个整个心路历程，我做完影片，在制作影片当中，其实我是挺难过，我没办法接受他离开的事实。就是在我剪辑的时候，即使重复剪辑、反复剪辑、反复看了20多遍，我每一次都会流泪，就是听到他对我说的那句好好听话的时候，我都会哭。但是剪完的时候，我会有一种很释怀的感觉，就是我好像用影片记住他了，我就不用担心 它会消失的这一种感觉。对，就是我很放松，有这个影片，因为这个影片记录了它，以后我想念它的时候，我也可以拿这个影片出来看。对。
I was super sad when I'm attending her funeral, and every time I editing my footage, the images and even Xiang's personal objects, I will cry. And when I finish my film, and I feel released because I think Xiang is now living with my film, and I'm not afraid of forgetting her. And this really cured me as a for my film and for what I'm studying about image production.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and thank you for letting us like get this personal. And yeah, I in order to complement that with my experience, like I love the fact that for me in your movie there was a way of reading photograph as as a way of recovering something that was supposed to be lost. As you said that you are supposed to lose someone, but when you have that image, you are really like not losing it completely. I mean, because I remember these parts of the work where your grandmother recovers the photograph of her own mother years later, and for her it was like seeing her again, even though she left her at 5. Or yeah, and I wrote, image is always recovering or giving something back to her grandma, like and to her. Like also when you get to see the picture of your grandma when she's young, you're like, oh, now I know her when she was young, and that is so so beautiful. Yeah.
Yes. 你需要我翻译吗？我感觉你听懂了。
我大概听懂了，没关系，接着来。
Okay.
Great.
She understand what you said.
Great. Yeah. I didn't know if you were going to say anything. So Marjorie, I don't know if how was your experience, because it's also a very personal and profound work.
And yeah, and it wouldn't be obvious to someone unless I mentioned that context about losing my friend. I wanted to be able to not have to talk about it as I made it, so I picked something that's you're distracted by the vampire business, but I have to say that it's difficult to look at actual recorded frames of the person you've lost, so I obviously couldn't do that with this movie. But I had recorded my friend in my first feature, which is much more conventional, and it isn't really what I set out to do when I make movies, but it was a formative experience. But just looking at those images of him is pretty difficult, and I don't think I can really ever get over it. He's always with me. I think about him every day. With film, it's difficult because no matter what you record, it's ephemeral, it's fleeting, and it's going to disappear, and you're freezing time. So that could get I had that experience with my first thesis film where I recorded Vicky Marlene doing her classic rendition of Blumhouse Blues, and I didn't know that she was dying, and she died before she watched the film. And so that always stuck with me, and that was my first experience really shooting something more serious. So I'm always aware of that, and I'm always aware of your feelings changing when it comes to a film that you've participated in. So I try to be really conscientious of how the experience feels for the participants, at least how they're represented in the final form. I hope that they're happy with it, as time passes. So I'm pretty conscious of the long-term persistence of those images and how those meanings could change for the people in those frames, because I was part of this this commercial product, and I'm frozen in time for some people, and I can't really evolve from that television interpretation of who I am as a person, and it's it's complicated, so I try to be aware.
No, and yeah, and you're right. Like everything that image gives you would be ephemeral, but it's interesting that you manage like to even imagine a different type of image with vampires and with this horror atmosphere. Like I really like. I'm choosing not to watch it like directly, but I will try to like give this image another place. I don't know. That's also interesting. And
Mm.
but I like the fact that even though we have all this violence while watching the film, I don't know. I also and I don't know if that's on purpose. I am guessing, but you also get this feeling of something that can be freed. Like you also have like a kind of freedom. Uh, and I'm thinking about the montage where she is like hearing to music, listening, sorry, to music, and she's thinking about the bike and the streets and the river, and I really think that when going through image, we also get to see these small spaces of light that we want to inhabit. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a reminiscing of at least a past life, you know, or something she's lost, or something she's drawn back to. But I can't really say that this movie is very narrative. You know, it's really. Um, I think there's a self-abandonment in the movie for the protagonist. Um, I don't know if it's liberating. I think it's ambiguous.
Okay, yeah. And I also wanted to ask about these parts. How do you think they complement? They complement? No, like they. I don't know the word. It's like I'm using a word that's similar in Spanish, but it's not like. How do you think they can add up? Yeah, to the other image. These parts where we have a kind of black and white. That is more like luminous, not luminous in feeling, but that it's more illuminated and where contrasts are like much more deeper. I don't know.
Right. So there are some void sequences where black light is used to bring out certain qualities in their physical bodies, and then and free lensing as well, to sort of blur those boundaries. But then there's the thermal sequences, and those thermal sequences come in at the climax of the film. And for me, it's sort of breaking away from the visual logic of the rest of the film, and it's showing you the same physical data, but perhaps more accurately, because you can see, you're more aware of them as physical bodies in space, you know, producing heat in this really cold environment. And I love that you can see something that isn't typically visible. So for me, the heart of the film is there. The blue sequence is more of a melancholic sequence. And in the original cut, it didn't come at the end, but it felt right to bookend the film with those two record sequences. Again, a loop, you know, you're going through the same groove. I'm kind of drawn to films where there isn't necessarily a change. It's this continuous sort of state, mood, ambience, and the characters sort of exploring this rut that they're in, you know. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm not answering your questions, but
No, right, but you're saying many interesting things, and I really like the fact that the loop is emphasized in so many ways, because that's also what memory does. Like
yeah.
like you're always looping there, but the loop, which is like confusing and strange, is always different, and you're like
Right.
you're having the same feeling in many different versions of it, and that's also very amazing to experience, and in your case to take it to to an image, right? Like that sensation, that feeling. And well, I just wanted to remind people watching that you may also ask questions. But sometimes people are like really shy. They haven't been asking that much questions, but I think they have enjoyed the streamings. But I just wanted to in order to start wrapping up, if you like, well, if for you this this work you presented in Fotogenia has any continuity. Well, I think that Qimei was talking about a book, or did I got confused? Was this like a project for a book, or was it going to be a book and then she transformed it into this short film? I didn't quite get this, but yeah, I wanted to ask that.
就是因为我先前翻译的时候提到，感觉你的电影像是为阿香写一本书，可能他有一点误会了，就是他在想你是不是原本就想写一本书，可能是我这个比喻就是用的有点太那个，所以他问一下是不是这个情况。
不是，就是是这么一个情况，是相当于是个比喻，就是在葬礼的当天晚上，我们就是亲人亲戚大家都围在一起，就是开始回忆过去阿香的一些故事。然后我的表姐就说，就感觉阿香的一生感觉能写一本书，因为她太曲折了。所以也因为这个契机，所以我觉得我用影像去书写它，也像是写了一本书，也是一个影像之书的感觉，是个比喻。对。
That was just a metaphor. And when we're in my grandmother's funeral, and my cousin said that she feels like Xiang's life is like a book, because there was so many hard times, so many changes. Yes. So I think I'm not good at writing a book, but I'm studying in image production, and I feel like Xiang has so many old photos, and I can make them a film to memorize her.
Oh yeah, thank you. No, because it also gives you an idea of how can you use this memory and this language in many. I mean this memory, and you can apply it to different types of expression and language. Because, for example, I'm a film critic, and my family always want me to write books, and I'm like, okay, I mean, yeah, I do write, but I don't know if I would write the history of the family. But when you, I mean, people always think about diaries and novels, and it's also a way of growing through our own personal memory, using this archive, like physically, right? Like, and showing it, and making it have some sense through montage and through our own like affection. I don't know, but yeah. Okay, yeah, that's I the thing is that I also didn't understand well the part of the book, and I wanted to ask about it. In the case of Marjorie's explorations, I have a feeling that you really found something there in the plasticity of the body and of how bodies could show in front of the camera in a very critical way, I would say. So I don't know if that made you have any echoes for exploring a little bit further, or.
Well, I just think a lot of things are, I mean, for me, I'm not a terribly verbal person, you know, and it's difficult for me to articulate things in words. So at that moment, in that state of mind that I had, where I felt pretty numb, and I felt like everything was moving really slowly, it just felt appropriate to shoot the entire film in slow motion. And to have, I had a lot of intrusive thoughts, a lot of intrusive memories, so the editing kind of reflects that, all of these interruptions. And it felt really ruminative, and I really couldn't extricate myself from many thought patterns. So if anything, there's an unease, hopefully, that's communicated in the rhythm and the images, and it's shot mostly at night, so the darkness. But it was, I don't know, it was a very formative experience for me, because it was very freeing. And I had just done this pretty conventional film that I felt very limited by, because I had to cut to a script. And here I sort of let everything go. And I even revisited the film once it was out and redid it. And I feel like it can be refined further even. And I find a lot of joy in that refinement and working on something and working on being more sensitive to what's in front of me and making sure that I don't try to dress it up. You know, I have to resist the impulse to dress it up or to be overly confident in my aesthetic vision or references. And I have to recognize when my efforts are actually ruining something and making it tedious. And that can be extremely difficult, you know. So it's very difficult for me to make films. But I am searching for something every time, and I'm looking for a very precise feeling that I can't put into words.
Yeah, and well, what I enjoy a lot about this conversation and about your works is that it also reminds us that image is always like placing and misplacing, and it all can be rearranged, right? Like you can go through it and place it again, and then going through the loop and misplace it again, and that's the chaotic like way of operating through image and memory as well. So I don't know if you had any last impressions. Anything you would like to tell people who are watching and the people who will watch in the future this reel? But from I mean, I would thank you a lot for this talk, for your work, and for being so like, I don't know if the word is honest, but for, you know, this place where we got to talk about many things that aren't easy to talk about. Yeah.
Would you like to go first?
Yeah. Don't anyone wants to say anything?
Oh,
yeah.
就是他想说，就是你对未来有可能看到你这个影片的人想说什么？对，就是因为你的影片里面也重现了很多之前的东西嘛。对，你看一下你有没有什么想对未来可能看到你这个影片的人有什么话想要说？
我可能没什么话，因为其实刚开始这个影片，其实我是想做给自己看的，就是也是因为毕设的原因，所以它能够给更多的人看，也投了一些影节，然后有更多的观众去交流阿香的一生，然后我也挺开心，就是阿香的故事能够在墨西哥给大家看到。对，如果说跟他们说什么的话，其实也没什么说的，就直接看影片，然后直接跟我交流就好了。对。
Okay, and
actually,
okay, actually, this film for my grandmother is about to just for myself and for my family. But at that time, I was also preparing for my graduate exhibition. So I decided to share this not only with my families, because this is although this is a significant work for my family, but I also want other people to know about Xiang as a person, as a real person that has once lived on the world. And actually, I have not too much to share with the future audiences. I just want them to know about Xiang, which would be happy for me.
Great, thank you very much. I did learn many things about Asia and China yesterday as well. I was talking to a friend a lot about another interview we had with another Asian colleague, and I was like, I didn't know that many things, and it was amazing. And yeah, so thank you very much also to bring your work here to the Fotogenia and to Mexico. Yeah, thank you. And
yes.
Marjorie, I'm sorry, I'm reading that someone left a question for you, which says, was Desire Path inspired by a certain other movie, especially in hindsight?
I love Philippe Gondrieux's Alei. I love that film. It's my favorite Gondrieux film, and it's a very vibrating camera, which I don't have. I have a lot of statics, you know, and static compositions, but I really appreciate his desire to, it probably stems from his work as a documentarian initially before he went into fiction, but it has this direct cinema approach where there are no frills, no special effects, and he's really trying to pay attention to what's in front of him as the camera operator and communicate this sensorial, almost sonic, emotional landscape. It's also very fairy tale-like, the story isn't, it's a sketch almost. Not to say that narrative isn't important to him, but it lies elsewhere. So I like the simplicity and the coldness of the setting, of the environment. And I've watched that film many times. So that was definitely something I was aware of while I was making that film.
Right. Thank you very much. And do you want to add anything else to the conversation?
I think for people who like to make things with images, I think, at least I personally learned a lot through this second feature because, you can have the intention to work on an image and, make it beautiful. But I had to be careful not to make it a gimmick, because it can easily become a crutch and a gimmick. And we've all seen works where they execute everything visually perfectly, sonically perfectly, and yet they don't come together. The right moments never are achieved, and they're completely forgettable. And I can't emphasize enough that, for me at least, it's reviewed in the edit, especially because my films now are very loose. There's a very loose shot list. There's almost an infinite amount of material to review in the end. But I think you can fix it in the edit. You just have to put in the time, the willingness to put in the time.
Thank you very much. So thank all of you. Thank you for sharing with us your words and your work. Once again, thank you, Qimei. Thank you, Shift. It's yeah. I forget sometimes. Yeah, sorry. And thank you, Marjorie. And
Thank you.
and we hope we can gather sometime again in Fotogenia.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Adios.
Gracias.
Gracias.
对吗？